Shri Rajshekhar N, Deputy Director, IPS Deputy Director Academy, and Shri Brij Kishore Sharma, Assistant Director. It is with great pleasure and enthusiasm that I welcome each and every one of you to the third National Young Deputy SPs Conference. This gathering marks a significant milestone in our ongoing commitment to nurturing and empowering the future leaders of law enforcement. Firstly, I would request Shri Anil Kishore Yadav, IPS Director Academy, to welcome our chief guest by presenting a book. Thank you, sir. As we look around this auditorium, we see not just individual faces, but the collective embodiment of dedication, passion, and a shared commitment to upholding the principles of justice and security. Our presence here today, spanning different regions, backgrounds, and experiences, reflects the diversity and strength of our law enforcement community. Now, before I invite Shri Anil Kishore Yadav, IPS Director Academy, for his opening address, I would like to give a brief introduction of Sir. Shri Anil Kishore Yadav, IPS, a native of Uttar Pradesh, embarked on his illustrious career in Indian Police Services in the 1996 batch representing the Bihar cadre. He has demonstrated unwavering dedication and leadership throughout his service. He served as District Superintendent of Police in 8 districts, including 4 affected by left-wing extremism, showcasing his resilience and strategic acumen in maintaining law and order. Progressing to the role of Deputy Inspector General in LWE affected areas, he led operations with a hands-on approach. During the period from 2013 to 2016, he took on the responsibility of deputation to the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare in the Government of India, showcasing his versatility and commitment to public service. Back to cadre, he served as Inspector General and Additional Director General in Weaker Sections Wing of Criminal Investigation Department and Training Division. Transitioning to the Bureau of Police Research and Development, he assumed the role of Director Academy in November 2023 for further contributing his wealth of experience to the field. Now, I would request Shri Anil Kishore Yadav, IPS Director Academy, for his opening address. Sir, please.
Thank you, Mulchan ji. Respected Rishi Kumar Shukla sir, former DGP Madhya Pradesh and Director CBI, and my dear comrades. We are honored to receive Rishi Kumar Shukla sir as our chief guest of this inaugural ceremony of third National Young DYSPs Conference. As this is a proud privilege for all of us to find amongst us Rishi Kumar Shukla sir. I am sure most of us, almost every one of us might have heard about him as DGP Madhya Pradesh and CBI Director also. I may not like to take much time as we will hear Shukla sir. I just want to communicate our gratitude on behalf of my academy that sir has always, not only this time, earlier also, sir has always been very kind enough to accept our invitation and spare his valuable time and share his words of wisdom and vast experience with our participants whenever academy requested his presence. So we are really very grateful to you, sir. We welcome you again in this campus so that you can share your wisdom, your views, your experience, and words of guidance to our participants, young participants, and of course, the faculty members of this academy also equally get benefited out of your words of wisdom. So I welcome sir again. As far as this academy is concerned, this academy came into existence in 2012, and since then, with many ambitions or discussions on that, how to go on this path of growth of this academy. There were so many point of views. It started with this concept that basic training of DySPs will be conducted here. So many states agreed initially, but somehow this construction got delayed and most of them backtracked. So we are not in a position till now that basic course of DySPs be conducted here. Only state of Madhya Pradesh was kind enough to get their officers trained over here in 2008, basic course DySPs. But there are still, we have not lost hope on that account also. And there is a great possibility that in near future, some mid-career training programs and some sort of national integration foundation course of all states DySPs be conducted here. So these things are in pipeline and at the top level, at the competent authority, they are under discussion, and let us see what happens in near future. But this is our pleasure on behalf of Academy that notwithstanding all those issues, we have been able so far to impart training to not only young DSPs and DYSPs, but also IPS officers and other rank officers of state police units and CAPFs. On various specialized courses, we have got schools, separate schools, like on drug law and traffic and like that. So we have been trying hard to contribute in this great cause of nation building on our part. So I welcome sir again and all participants also on this occasion. Thank you, sir. Thank you, participants. Jai Hind.
Thank you, sir. Throughout the next 2 days, we have a rich agenda planned featuring distinguished speakers, interactive sessions, and networking opportunities. Our goal is to create a platform where you can exchange ideas, share best practices, and forge connections that will endure long after the conference concludes. Now, before I invite our today's chief guest, Shri Rishi Kumar Shukla, IPS former DGP Madhya Pradesh and Central Bureau of Investigation, for his keynote address, I would like to give a brief introduction of sir. Shri Rishi Kumar Shukla, IPS former Director General of Police, joined Indian Police Services in the year 1983 in Madhya Pradesh cadre. He was just 23 years old when he joined the police services and was one of the youngest IPS officer of the batch. After completing basic training, he served in many parts of Madhya Pradesh and Chhattisgarh.
My batches.
During his 37 years long career in police service, Shri Shukla displayed a passion for bringing out transformative changes wherever he served, building and strengthening public institutions to deliver safety, security, and services to the common citizens. In 2016, he was handpicked as the DGP of Madhya Pradesh by the government. During the incumbency, he took strict actions against corrupt police officers. He was the person behind the Dial 100 system of the state. He has also introduced the anti-terrorist squad and special task force to MP Police. Sir was appointed as the Director of the Central Bureau of Investigation in the year 2019. As Director CBI, efforts of systematic changes were made with the system to close participative supervision of investigation and prosecution of cases. After serving for 2 years in CBI, he superannuated in the year 2021. Shri Shukla is a proud recipient of Police Medal for Meritorious Service and President Police Medal for Distinguished Services. Now, I would request our Chief Guest, Shri Rishi Kumar Shukla, IPS former Director General, for keynote address and address the gathering with his words of wisdom.
Thank you for the kind words of introduction. Director CAPT, Deputy Director, Assistant Director, the faculty, participants of this third Young DySPs conference, and I believe that there are about 90 odd offered from Narcotics Control Bureau. A welcome to them too. I am grateful to the Academy that they have called me here to interact with you. The rank of DySP, the Deputy Superintendent of Police, is probably the most critical rank in the entire police hierarchy. This is the rank where you act as the not only as an investigator in many cases, but you are responsible for the first level supervision in most other cases. Therefore, when it comes to investigation, probably the DySPs are the ones who know the most. When I joined this service 40 years back, can proudly say that I learnt most of the techniques and effectiveness of investigation from DySPs who had years of experience of handling the cases. So therefore, it is in the paramount interest of the Indian police that the young DySPs who have a big challenge in front of them in the next few decades to really grasp as to how investigation should go, what it is, and how it can go ahead. This, of course, is a workshop for 2 days, a place where you have to exchange ideas, you have to share, you have to participate. It's not a training course, it's something which you need to participate and make it more effective, learn from it. So having said that, I would like to also draw your attention to the fact that investigation per se, criminal investigation, is the cornerstone of the Indian criminal justice system. When it comes to decide as to whether a crime has been committed and who has committed the crime, it is the investigative agency which plays the most dominant role. There are other actors and stakeholders in the criminal justice system. We have, first of all, the victim, the person or the group who has suffered some sort of a damage from a crime. You have the investigative agency, you have also the prosecution, you have the courts, and you have the prison system. But amongst all of them, unless the investigation is done, none of the other parts of the system actually get activated. So therefore, you are the single most critical piece of the criminal justice system. Incidentally, as we talk today, till this date when I had been speaking to people about criminal justice system and investigation, I would sort of say that the laws haven't changed for over 150 years. Now, today is a day of transition. Yesterday, the parliament, at least the Lok Sabha, cleared the bills of replacing the major criminal acts, the IPC, the CRPC, and the Indian Evidence Act. Of course, I am glad that I have not been asked to, work on the new pieces of act, because they are in some ways a change, in some ways a cosmetic change. We'll have to discuss this and see, and you will be the people who take it forward in the implementation as it comes. So in this changing times, we also see that crime and its nature have also been changing tremendously. Earlier, a crime could not happen if the victim and the perpetrator were not in contact. Now, it is not so. A crime happens where the victim has no idea of where the perpetrator is. He has no idea of a crime which has happened. He only realizes it after a few or an interval of time that he has been duped or a crime has taken place. We have always had in human nature the people falling prey to greed and getting lured in many ways in which they are getting duped. We've had people selling the Taj Mahal and the Statue of Liberty for centuries, and other people who are actually spending money to buy it. But now, with the new age crime which is happening, the cyber crime which you're all aware of, it has changed completely. We have the Narcotics Control Bureau people here. Way back, about 50 years back, I was SP of a district called Manfara. Manfara is 30 years back, which produces almost 70% of all legally produced opium in the country and almost equal amount of illegally produced opium in the country. And the NDPS Act had just been introduced, and one would try and follow the procedure of the most stringent act. Now, Manfar is not relevant. Narcotics from plant-based things are not relevant. You are having synthetic narcotics out in the market, which can be sort of manufactured in a room of this size anywhere in the world. So things have been changing. I have been a witness to those changes, and I can say that investigation, the techniques of investigation, is something which we must keep abreast of. We must keep trying to be currently aware of what's happening. So while I talk to young people, some of you are young, some of you are very experienced, but you see, one very key and important thing for an investigator is not only that the investigation which you are doing currently. You may be either doing an investigation currently, or you may be supervising number of cases which are being currently investigated. But you must be aware of what crimes have been happening of similar nature, not only in your jurisdiction, but across different states, across Pan India, and also internationally. Because now we are integrated globally. A crime which is happening today, for example, in cybercrime, you must all have heard of the Jamtara model of crimes. The Jamtara model is the first generation of cybercrime. It started happening about 10 to 12 years, maybe 15 years back. Now, there are Jamtaras in every district of the country, and that crime continues to flourish. It continues to be rewarded with very little risk attached to it. So, if a crime has no risk attached to it, people do it with impunity. This is what the change which is continuing to happen. At the same time, you have seen maybe in the IT area, in the cyber area, the generational change in crimes is happening every 2 to 3 years. Different models of crime and crime investigation are coming up. And where do we stand in that criminal justice flow? Yes, last year, a total of how many crimes would have been convicted? Anybody give me an idea? Who can tell me of the number of convictions in cyber crime across India in the year 22? Any idea? 500. Just 500. Of these 500, about 470 odd crimes were those cyber crimes which spoke of that, there's a Facebook post posted by X which sort of alleges that Y is why you have done something wrong, and that sort of cases of religious intolerance and other things. So, actual cybercrime convictions have been far and few in between. This is a challenge. Why is it a challenge? Because if you are unable to punish the perpetrator of a crime through the system, the number of victims continues to multiply exponentially and the public confidence in the system goes down. Other parts of the criminal justice system are equally challenging. About 50 years back, the conviction rates and prosecution rates were maybe high 60s. It's continuing to fall down, and the trend is so downwards that one actually, fears as to what's going to happen. And that is why there is this constant and instant pressure on all investigators and the supervisors to find ways and means of taking action which are not procedurally legal. That again is a challenge, because that cannot be a solution. It cannot ever be a solution that you go and work extra legally in order to attain some legal objectives. Friends, while crime has been since the human beings got together in society, right from ancient times to this age, crimes have been there. Crime investigation has had rough and ready methods. And it's only in the last 2 centuries that crime investigation has started evolving. Even if you look at now what we should be doing on a day-to-day basis, like the forensics, like the cyber forensics, like the scene of crime examination, like the process through which the investigation has to go through, this is all just in the last 200 odd years. Prior to that, crime was what somebody, a law enforcer would say, oh, this fellow is a criminal, this crime has been committed by him, he says he has done it, period. That was what the investigation was, rough and ready. Even if you look at the Police Act of 1861, which is still there, not been replaced, while the IPC has changed, the other Police Act 1861 stays. In the duties of police, investigation of crime is at a very low priority, very, very low priority. It's all about maintenance of public order. It's all about maintaining the status quo. It's all about ensuring that there is a orderly flow of obedience of what the government dictates. From there to the aspirational democratic changes which we brought in, our constitution, our laws, we promised the people of India that we would do everything through a process, the due process of law, procedure established by law. That is what is now the most essential part of investigation. It is not sufficient to say that X has committed the crime. You have to prove beyond reasonable doubt. We have what is known as an adversarial criminal justice system. Meaning what? Meaning that the prosecution, and when we say the prosecution, we also mean the investigation, we have to prove beyond reasonable doubt that this is the only person who could have committed this crime. The judge there is not there to decide in a criminal justice system like ours whether who has committed the crime. He or she is there just to decide whether the person brought to the trial has committed the crime or not. Therefore, if murder has happened, it has happened. There is a crime. Nobody will deny that a murder has happened. I am taking X to the trial, and if my procedure is not, the fact remains that a murder has taken place. The judge who is presiding over a trial does not decide who committed the murder. He just decides whether X committed the murder or not. And he says, that the investigating agency has not been able to prove beyond reasonable doubt, therefore X is acquitted. Now this is the challenge which is that of the investigation. 200 years back, across the world, not only in the Indian conditions, across the world, investigators were not there. The word detective came in after a novel in the, like we often talk about London police. London police had a system whereby there were people called the Bow Street Runners who were private investigators. In the US of America, the first detectives came only in the 1850s, not even 200 years. But from there has been a very, very rapid evolution of the process of investigation. Now, the process of investigation has two very distinct parts. One part is what is known as the detection of crime. Most of us in the police and the young DySPs here also, they end the story with the detection of crime. Oh, the crime has been detected. We have been able to find out that X has committed the crime. We have found out that the property stolen has been recovered from X. Period. That's all. I have solved the crime. But solving the crime does not mean that you have done an investigation. Investigation is the process. The procedure which is of most singular importance thing. What is the procedure? What is criminal investigation? There's a very interesting judgment of the Supreme Court in 1950s, Jamna Devi versus State of Bihar. Why I am talking about this is because here the Supreme Court says it defines what is investigation. It is also laid down very clearly in the CRPC and now the Bharti Nagrik Suraksha Sanhita. Criminal Procedure Code is now Nyaya Sanhita is IPC. Bharti Nagrik Suraksha Sanhita. You see, I'm digressing from what I was saying, but see the difference. It is no longer the criminal, it is not what in Hindi speaking states we used to call it the Dand Prakriya Sanhita, the Criminal Procedure Code. The emphasis has changed. It has gone to Nagrik Suraksha Sanhita, meaning that the citizen has a right for being safe and there are safeguards for the citizens. That is more important. But it is the process of investigation is laid down. It was then the chapter 12 of the CRPC. Now it would be something which I don't know as of now. But it says that you have to go to the scene of crime. The very first thing is go to the scene of crime. Second thing is collect the evidence. Third thing is find the perpetrator. Fourth thing is take the matter to a court of law and get a decision. Now, in all these 5 basic steps, the matter begins and the investigating officer, and it's different at different places. I'm sure the NCB would have its own system or process which they follow. As far as the police is concerned, and I would suggest that if you read it, the best investigative set of procedures which have been laid down have been done so by the Central Bureau of Investigation, because it is just a specialist investigating agencies and the officers just investigate. They do not have any other set of duties. So therefore, their way of investigation is different, but they have laid down the procedure of what to do in a step-by-step manner. And that procedure is what is important when you start doing a criminal investigation. Because here, you not only have to detect the crime, but you have to so detect the crime that there is a sufficient evidence which will take you to a court of law and you will be able to prove it in a court of law. in the Bharati Saksha Sanhita or the old Indian evidence system, the biggest challenge for investigating officers is to be able to introduce the evidence in a court of law. What is relevant evidence? What is a fact which is actually not disputed? And unless you are able to do that, you may believe like, oh, there is God. Now, if you want to say there is God to a criminal court, you will never be able to prove it. And the court will say, we find that there is no God. Because criminally, we have to introduce step by step a process by which each step has to be consistently followed by others. That is where the evidence challenges come in. Long years back, there is I don't expect any of you to know it, there is an act in the Indian system called the Commercial Document Evidence Act of 1939 or something. So it says, when a ship sails and it is written in the Lloyd's Register is a register which was then kept manually in London, which would describe that this ship has sailed from such and such port to such and such port, and this is the manifest of the ship. That will be taken by an Indian court to be undisputed truth, meaning like sun rises from the east, it is undisputed. So that is presumed to be true. We do not have such presumptions any longer in the criminal system. So everything which you want to prove, if you want to say, go ahead and say that this particular, this cyber forensics evidence says that this phone number was present at such and such place on such and such date and time, you would need to prove it by a person who has the record in custody. Merely by showing the document, the court will not believe you. So, what is the only exception which is there? The exception is, if you have heard of the Banker's Book Evidence Act, that if there is a bank account and if the bank manager certifies that this account belongs to XY and these are the details of the account, then he need not come to court of law and say, well, I hold the custody of this thing and this is the document. That is mentioned in a particular law. Therefore, however, the process of investigation is the sacrosanct thing. We cannot do a shortcut in it. The chain of custody of evidence is very important. We cannot do without it. It cannot be proved in a court of law. So often, the first thing which now happens is in an investigation, that's a huge challenge, that सिर्फ अपना फोन दो, उसको फोन को खोल के दो. क्या करना है? फोन को खोल के दो, हम देखेंगे आपने क्या किया. This is how the investigation begins. Now, you have the phone of the accused or suspect, and you made a call in it to see whom he called last number. The evidence is gone, destroyed. You can't do that. I'm not saying it. The law says it. So, you cannot do it. What do? You seize this phone, you create a clone of this phone, and then you work on it. Nobody does it. This is what the law says. Do we do it? I don't think practically anybody does it. But this is how it should go. So, we need some changes in the law that haven't happened in this round of changes, but there are always possibilities of going ahead for some better changes which are going to come in the future. This is how this entire system has to evolve, and this is what you have to learn. I personally feel that if you are aware of how the steps you have to follow in investigation, and you ensure that you and your investigating officer, subordinate investigation officer, follow those steps, you will get a case which is better than just a ordinary detection of crime. Because many a times, despite all the effort which you have made in detection of the crime, you are unable to link the accused to the scene of crime, to the victim, to the perpetrator, and therefore, well, you can very well happily say that, well, I did a great job. The court of law does not agree with you. 4 years back, there was this incident, a very heinous set of crimes which were discovered. There was a person, a serial killer, who killed 35 people, and he would kill randomly. When he was arrested, when the case was detected, and all those previous cases linked to him and put up in the court of law, and this is a real story, he has been acquitted in 5 cases till now. Because he says, I have committed the crime. You have enough evidence to show that you have committed the crime, but in many of these cases, you have already charge sheeted somebody else. You may have made a mistake. The CBI does it as a matter of routine, that you charge sheet somebody, they'll take up a fresh investigation and they will file a fresh charge sheet, discharging all the other accused, and in this fresh charge sheet, there will be conviction. But you have not done it in your case, because the moment you start saying that the previous charge sheet was faulty, somebody will come up and say, for what punishment have you given to that fellow who made that faulty charge sheet? But this is a fact of life that such cases happen. In this very famous Nithari case, how many of you have heard of it? What is the latest legal situation?
Was acquitted.
Person has been acquitted. After all the effort made in that and the evidence recovered to prove that, you found about 40, 50 skulls and skeletons and everything, the courts go and say that, well, these people are innocent. But somebody killed them. There were skeletons. What happens to that? How do you account for that? Who is responsible for that? And then there are challenges in the process of law. A trial court, if you are aware, how many of you have given, let's say, witness in a trial court? Some of them, that's very good, but not very many. So trial court actually goes through the evidence, it talks to the witnesses, it sees them being cross-examined, it takes a sense of the entire thing and takes a decision. A court of appeal does not go through the real evidence. It only goes through the documents, second-hand documents, the judgment and the appeal, and it never talks to the witness, it never sees what had happened, but it gives a judgment, and that judgment overrules the trial court. So this becomes another challenge. The High Court, for that matter, has taken a decision on matters, on material, which is just the paper records. The trial court has seen the material evidence, have taken oral evidence and has examined the accused, also under the previous section 313 of the CRPC. I don't know what the current section would be. But the High Court goes and acquits that fellow. Now, where is the closure to the victim or the set of victims in this case? In yet another case, there was a gang which would kill truck drivers and conductors after poisoning them. In many such cases. So, 211 cases linked. In the first case, everybody convicted but the main accused. The main accused is acquitted. So what do you do? Why? Why is this happening? This is happening because A, the prosecution is not a stakeholder in the investigation. B, the quality of prosecution has gone down. C, the investigation process is not as closely monitored as it should be, and the investigative material is not set as it should be. These are procedural mistakes which we do, and we keep doing it because nobody tells us not to do it. There is no intent for any of the investigating officers or the supervisory officers to not do a correct investigation, but we are also not willing to learn from our past mistakes. We should be able to learn from past mistakes. But in the police and the investigation agencies, the challenge is that the moment you say that there has been some lacuna in the investigation, it automatically starts that whosoever has done that lacuna, first that person be identified and punished. So therefore, people are not willing to admit that something has gone wrong, and there are no learning from previous mistakes. Mistakes will happen. If you are a good worker, you are the best worker, you will still do a mistake. But how do you learn from this mistakes? And that is what world over systems do, and they change. So this is what is one part. I'll just take another 5 minutes to conclude. As I told you earlier, investigation is a very new art. The first fingerprint if some of you have studied criminology, there is this low-card exchange theory that there is some evidence left behind by the criminal at the scene of crime, which now no longer applies except in the physical crimes. That from there to this date, where scientific flow has so tremendously increased that it is unbelievable. Our investigative agencies have not been able to keep pace with the changing, even our forensic agencies have not been able to keep pace even with the changing scientific and technological innovations. For example, in the US, on the basis of DNA, a lot of crimes have been reinvestigated. People who were convicted with life have been freed because the DNA did not corroborate them. But there have been no hue and cry of that punish that fellow who retired 30 years back, because that was then. This was now. So now what is happening is that there is a DNA. Now what is happening is that there are cameras. Now what is happening is there are mass spectrometers. There are so many forensic devices which have come up that they can very categorically and assertively give enough evidence to take the matter to a conclusive decision. We have not been able to catch up pace with that because of the fact the priority of forensics has been low with investigators. It is in this state, the High Court has given decision that in every matter of rape, DNA is a must. You have to do a DNA analysis. Without that, there will be. Now, the High Court says it's okay. How do you test the DNA? You imported machines. You need trained scientists. And what do you need? You need a DNA testing kit. Even now, DNA testing kits are imported. And the import takes place, the amount takes place, it takes about 6 months before you can get it. The cost of a DNA testing is prohibitive. So if you have to investigate all cases and you have to use the DNA, you need to completely change the way you look at forensics. You need to give it far more funds. You need to keep modernizing it. Our forensic scientists need to keep pace with the research in that field. Those fields were very exciting. I mean, you can you can by tracing the water, you can decide where the accused came from. There's a hugely changed field. We have yet to go into that, but I'm sure it is discussions like this which bring takeaways, and those takeaways can then go into policy creating, policy making. That is the advantage of the workshops. You come together, you discuss what is good in your place, you find what is better in other places. The academy here makes a brief, it takes it to the BPR&D, the BPR&D takes it to the MHA, and hopefully something good comes out of it. Something better than just changing the laws as we have done now. The direction is there, it is positive. You are young people, you are eager people, you are passionate people, and I know that this generation of police officers will do a far more better job than our generation did in many things. I have to sort of admit that our generation of police officers could have done better, but then what the circumstances are difficult to say. My best wishes to all of you. May you find the right path to do the right thing. May you find the correct techniques and the learnings to take this thing forward. My best wishes to the academy, and if I may, and I am older than all of you, so my blessings to all of you. Do good, whatever you do, and always remain on the right path. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Now I would request Shri Anil Kishore Yadav, IPS Director Academy, to present a memento to the chief guest. Thank you, sir.
फिर से चलो चलो देख फोटो ज्यादा इम्पोर्टेंट है। अब मेरा आप एक चीज आप लोगों ने चेंज कर दी। आई टोल्ड द फॉर्मर डायरेक्टर, भैया मुझे कोई बड़ी चीज मत दिया करो, किताब ठीक है।
Now a request to Shri Rajshekara N, IPS Deputy Director Academy, to offer vote of thanks.
Good morning and welcome to this third National Young DSPs conference for the 2 days. First of all, I would like my profound thanks to former Director General of Police, Madhya Pradesh, and former Director CBA, Shri Rishi Kumar Shukla, sir. Sir, you have touched upon many of the aspects of the law and the investigation. One is that the conviction of the cyber crimes is very less because the anonymity is the key factor. It is very difficult to trace the accused. Second, you said that the investigation is not a priority in most of our policing. Law and order, VIP duty, and all those things takes a priority. And also you highlighted about the 3 criminal laws that has been taken place. Just yesterday, the parliament has passed. And also you told about the prosecution is not a part of investigation. That is one of the key where the investigation is lagging behind. And investigation is not proper, not monitored well by the senior officers. That results in the very casual approach towards the investigation. And more importantly, very importantly, you said that our officers are not keen to learn from the past mistakes. So you will highlight a lot of aspects of the law and the investigation thing. Thank you, sir, for focusing on these areas and giving a vast idea about the topic of the conference is the conflict between the law and the investigation. So you ably put on the many of the aspects of the investigation. Thank you, sir, for coming over to the academy, accepting our invitation and delivering a nice speech. So thank you, sir. So I also heartfully thanks to our respected director, Shri Anil Kishore Yadav, sir, Sir, your guidance has resulted in this nurturing this 2 days conference. This has set a very good tone for the 2 days to come up. This one, so the participants will have a very enlightening lectures from various aspects of the policing. I thank you, sir, once again for your guidance. I thank my ADs and all the officers present here, our CAPT officers who are responsible for setting up this very new good conference. Also, a very good inauguration part, and also the main part of this function is the DSPs, the young DSPs. For the next 2 days, we are going to deliberate on a lot of the issues, including the investigation and the cyber crimes and all those things. I hope you will all learn and enrich their experience. You please enjoy our academy facilities. We have a sports complex, we have the gym, and we have nice academy. Already you might have gone around. So please feel free to use all the facilities. I hope you wish you good luck for the next 2 days. I also thank the NCB officers who have come forward and participated in this. And also I will tell you the law and the investigation. This is also a key part for the Narcotics Control Bureau. Also, as sir said, it is a transnational crime. He was telling about the importance of the narcotics. So all in one, I thank all the officers who are responsible for my successful inauguration of this ceremony. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Now I would request everyone to please rise in the honor of national anthem.